name's Ola. I'm a medical physician in accident and emergency. That's my specialist interest. I'm also a trainee helicopter pilot, and I run the Flying Doctors Nigeria, which is the first national and international fixed and rotary wing air ambulance service in Nigeria. And our job is to convey critically ill patients from areas where they have overwhelmed the level of care available to them to a more suitable level of care, whether that's here in Nigeria or abroad. I grew up in England. I was born in London. I grew up in a town called Lowestoft, and then I spent 3 years in Ola Orekunrin, a school in Osun State, and then I went back to England for college, and then I went to the University of York, where I studied medicine. I also worked in accident and emergency and neonatal intensive care there, and I also had close contact with the air ambulance services and the pre-hospital care scene throughout my career, and now I'm in Lagos. I think my main inspiration is the point when I realised that there was no air ambulance service in Nigeria, and my sister became very, very ill here in Lagos actually when she was on holiday, and we realised that there was no air ambulance service to take her back to England, and the nearest air ambulance service was in South Africa, and we discovered it was going to take quite a long time to get the air ambulance, well, make payment first to South Africa, get the air ambulance here, and then convey her out. And during the time when we were trying to organise all this, my sister died. And at that point I realised that we probably, myself and some of my colleagues from England, probably had the skills to set up an air ambulance service here, and that was something that was severely lacking and could potentially save hundreds of thousands of Nigerian lives. So that was the inspiration behind it. I think setting up a business without any money can be one of the most frustrating things in the world to try and do. And I had a bit of money. I sold most of my sort of worldly possessions trying to sort of get the funds together to set up the business. But as anybody who has tried to set up a business in Nigeria probably knows, money goes pretty quickly when you're not making anything. So I ran out of money relatively quickly, and I found myself back at square one, having to use public transportation to get everywhere where I needed to go, including like 10-hour bus trips to Abuja, and like several hours on the Akure roads as well. I got robbed once on a night bus trying to get to a meeting, and it was quite a horrific experience, honestly, but it was also a very character building experience that and a very, very important point in my life when I was like working on my startup and trying to set things up. And eventually we managed to lease aircraft, managed to get the licenses that we needed, managed to see the people that we needed to see. I was able to build a team together and they were working on pure inspiration because I didn't have any money to pay them at the time. And we managed to move from the cyber cafe in Ikeja. I wish I could have taken you there actually, that would have been a funny trip because all the staff know me, to Concord Hangar when we'd made a little bit of money, and now over to here. We started about 2.5 years ago, and then we're doing about one flight every 3 months. So it was a difficult time in that we weren't getting sufficient income to run the business. And as our popularity increased, especially with the bomb blasts and the increase in sort of armed robbery and things as well, we started getting a lot of trauma, gun trauma, road traffic trauma, and that's really our speciality now, dealing with gun trauma and road traffic trauma, as you'd see from a lot of our pictures. And we also started getting critically ill sick patients as well, patients with meningitis, patients with medical conditions, pulmonary embolisms, heart attacks, patients that urgently needed to get to Lagos and Abuja for treatment. So now we've built up our clientele base, so we probably do about 2 or 3 flights a week, from one flight every 3 months over the past 2.5 years. I have Toby here acting as our mock patient, and as you can see, she's got all the monitoring devices attached to her. So this is a multi-parameter monitoring device, and what that means is it monitors, it's one monitor that gives you all the information needed about a patient. So this is a blood pressure cuff that monitors her blood pressure. This is these are ECG leads that monitor the electrical rhythm of her heart. She also has her pulse being monitored. her respiratory rate being monitored, and if she was critically ill, also we'd add an additional probe for the amount of carbon dioxide she's breathing. That's her end-tidal CO2. This is a Hawker 900 XP aircraft, which has a range of about 5 hours, which means that we can go to England and South Africa quite easily with this aircraft. Another thing and another reason why we love this aircraft is also the cabin pressurization. So for patients that have pressure-sensitive diseases, such as if they're hypoxic or if they've got increased pressure in their brains, we can keep the pressure in this cabin, even when we're flying at 40,000 feet, quite low, so below 10,000 feet, and that's excellent for patient well-being. I've always wanted to be a doctor, and I think I was born to practice medicine. And I think that once you're in a position where you're doing what you were born to do, then it never actually feels like you work another day again. And that's how I feel. I come to work every day and I actually don't feel like I'm working. I love to make a difference. I've always wanted to make a difference in Nigeria in terms of the healthcare situation here. And I know that I'm doing something really small in the grand scheme of things. We're just moving people around, and that doesn't really solve the larger healthcare problems, which I'm sure everybody is aware of. But I think it's about making a contribution in your own little way, in your own capacity, as little as it may be. And if everybody makes their tiny contribution in their area of expertise, then we can do a whole lot with that. I definitely think having the right people around me, I've had a really, really good team. I've been very, very fortunate with the people that I've had working with me. All of the doctors are fantastic. All of the dispatch team, all of the pilots that you met earlier are just absolutely fantastic people. And I think that when you're blessed with people that sort of can translate your vision into reality, then that's the key to running a business, and they do that very, very well. And there's a video online, it's called I think it's called something like The First Follower, and it highlights the fact that it's not about the leader. If nobody joins the leader, then it's just some lone nut dancing on their own. But when you have a lot of people around you also dancing, then you don't look as stupid. And I've had a lot of people around me dancing with me, so I don't look as silly. I always go back to England to work because I've got to renew my license. And there was one point when I went back to England and there was a man from Abu Dhabi, and we had a patient and he was like, by all means, I want to go back to Abu Dhabi. And I mean, I thought, you know, you're in the middle of London here, you're, you know, at one of the world centre of excellence. Why do you want to go back to Abu Dhabi? But he believed that the best healthcare that he could possibly receive would be provided by his people. And I want our air ambulance to be a service that actually brings Nigerians from all over the world back to Nigeria, because they believe that the best healthcare in the world comes from Nigeria. And I really hope that with all of our little contributions, we can get the Nigerian healthcare situation to a point where people believe that the best healthcare in the world is available right here in Nigeria.